Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing great today. I've got to say, I'm extremely excited about what's shaping up in the market this week. There's this sense of momentum building, and I really believe we're standing right on the edge of something big. Opportunities like this don't show up every single week, and if you've been watching closely, you know exactly what I mean. The potential for major gains is right in front of us, and naturally, we need to talk about one of the names that continues to capture the attention of retail investors and institutions alike, BigBear.ai. It's fascinating to me how Big Bear keeps people hooked. Despite all the ups and downs, the disappointments, the hype cycles, and the uncertainty, this company has not faded into the background. Why? Because everyone knows it could just take one solid deal, one major partnership, one breakthrough contract to flip the entire narrative. That's the story with Big Bear. It's still viewed as a stock with lottery ticket potential. And last week, we finally saw a spark of that potential. The news of a fresh partnership broke, and as soon as it did, the stock jumped. It wasn't an explosive rally, but it was enough to lift the share price back above that all-important $5 mark. For a lot of long-term holders, that was a sigh of relief, almost like a sign that Big Bear still has a pulse, still has room to run, and maybe even some gas left in the tank. Now, here's where the questions start rolling in. Should you buy now? Is this the right entry point? Do you double down, accumulate as much as you can while the stock is still cheap, or do you wait on the sidelines and see if the momentum holds? These questions are not simple, and they stir up some pretty strong emotions. For some, just bringing them up feels almost triggering because the truth is, this is one of the riskiest spots you can find yourself in as an investor, and I want to unpack why. First, let's look at the reality check. That last quarterly report from Big Bear? Brutal. There's no sugarcoating it. It was a disappointment across the board, worse than what most analysts and investors had braced for. Going into Q3 and Q4, I would love to tell you that the tide is turning, that expectations are going to be crushed to the upside. But if we're being honest, there's little evidence right now to suggest that's going to happen. Big Bear is still fighting uphill, and the numbers just aren't there yet. We're not looking at $40 million quarters coming out of nowhere. The company simply hasn't landed enough high-value deals to justify that kind of revenue yet. If anything, Q2 was a wake-up call that things were moving slower than expected. Instead of progress, we saw stagnation. That's the bearish side of the discussion, and it's important not to ignore it. But let's balance that with the bullish case, because there is one and it's not just blind hope. Despite the setbacks, Big Bear still has a real chance to finish the year on a strong note. The defense sector remains the holy grail here. Those long-term government contracts are worth their weight in gold. They're sticky, they last for years, and they pour in steady revenue. Everyone is watching and waiting for Big Bear to land more of those, because they could truly transform the company. In the meantime, another growth engine has started humming in the background: airline partnerships. These international airline deals are not small potatoes, they're huge. We saw a handful of them last year, and this year we've seen even more rollout. They may not grab headlines the way defense contracts do, but they are funneling real revenue into the business. Investors have noticed, too. The steady inflow of buyers picking up shares shows that confidence is not dead, and that matters a lot. Think about what the future could look like. Imagine 2 years from now, walking into any major airport, and behind the scenes, Big Bear's technology is running the show. Their systems embedded across the globe, powering security and logistics. If that becomes reality, the revenue potential is staggering. We're talking about a massive infrastructure play, something that could turn into a reliable, recurring stream of money. And while investors would obviously love to see defense deals first, the airline business may end up being the backbone that keeps Big Bear afloat while it builds credibility. Now, let's zoom back into this week. The stock pushed above $5 again, and that has put Big Bear back on the radar. The burning question remains: should you buy? The truth is, no one can answer that for you, because it comes down to your own risk tolerance. I can tell you where I stand. I'm bullish long-term, not just on Big Bear specifically, but on the entire direction of the stock market over the next 5 to 10 years. We're heading into a world dominated by technology. It doesn't matter if we're talking about software, robotics, AI, semiconductors, or cybersecurity. Tech is going to be at the heart of everything, and Big Bear sits right in that sweet spot. What they're really selling is security powered by technology. They're not just a data company, They're not just AI, they're providing solutions that governments, airports, and corporations desperately need. In a world where digital threats are everywhere, that kind of business has staying power. The problem isn't the vision, it's the execution. Investors are asking themselves, how long am I willing to wait? We've been here before. Back in late 2023, Big Bear started chipping away at deals, securing a big defense contract that gave people hope. Then came more in early 2024, followed by the airline partnerships. But the pace has been uneven. Some quarters, things feel alive. Other times, it's dead silent. The last quarterly report was a gut punch. It wasn't just bad, it shook confidence. And if Q3 turns out the same way, without fresh deals in hand, this stock could easily fall back into the $2 range. That's not fear-mongering, that's reality. Some traders would welcome that drop because they're shorting the stock or waiting to buy in cheaper. But for long-term investors, that kind of dip could test patience in a serious way. Looking ahead, though, there's reason for optimism. Security and defense spending are set to ramp up. With political pressure and government budgets opening, more contracts are likely to flow in this direction. The golden dome of security initiatives and global airline expansion are building momentum. If Big Bear can position itself at the center of that, the company could look completely different by next year. Here's my biggest concern. Can investors keep the stock supported above that $2-3 floor? Because if it slips back into the $1 territory, the narrative crumbles. Confidence would evaporate, and it becomes much harder to rebuild. People compare Big Bear to Palantir, and yes, there are similarities. But even 3 years ago, Palantir had clearer traction. They were landing big government contracts consistently, building a visible roadmap. Big Bear isn't there yet. That said, I don't think it's fair to dismiss them. This company is still young. The road is bumpy, but the market opportunity is massive. I'm in the camp that believes Big Bear has a fighting chance. Tech is the future, security is the future, and both of those roads intersect with what Big Bear offers. Now, let's not sugarcoat the short-term outlook. Volatility is almost guaranteed. The stock could take more hits in the coming weeks. I wouldn't be surprised to see turbulence between $4 and $5, maybe even lower. But if Big Bear can announce another meaningful deal, whether it's defense or airline related, that could flip sentiment overnight. Investors want proof, not promises. That's where the company needs to deliver. Show the market that revenue is coming in, that growth is real, and buyers will show up in droves. Without that, no amount of hype will keep the stock elevated. That's just how the market works. So, as we head into this week, my advice is simple. Stay plugged in. Watch the headlines closely. This could be a week of big swings, with heavy buying and selling pressure shaping the price action. Could we see $8 again before the end of the year? It's not impossible, but it will require Big Bear to capture serious attention and, more importantly, deliver concrete results. Right now, this is a battle, a tug-of-war between hope and hard numbers. I'm rooting for Big Bear to come out on top, to secure more deals, and to prove that it's more than just a speculative ticker. I remain hopeful, but realistic. The company needs to move faster, lock in contracts, and show investors that their patience will be rewarded. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Patience, risk, and conviction. And if Big Bear can rise to the occasion, the payoff could be massive. But until then, buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. This is not financial advice.